see so many faces. Even though I cannot literally see your face, but I'm sure you're look excited. So if you can, please feel free to put in the chat where you are at your career. So are you still in school, approaching a degree, or are you in your early career phase, maybe like 0 to 2 years of experience, or are you kind of like mid-level with 3 to 5 years of experience, or maybe even over 5 years of experience? So please feel free to use the chat and just flood the chat. Okay, early career. Okay, 3 years, three. Okay, student, student. Okay, 1.5. Okay, internship experience, personal project. That's good. All right, so I'm seeing a little bit more on the early career side. Yeah, so no matter how experienced you are, I think you are in the right talk because I'm gonna give you something really practical, a cheat sheet for you to fake it till you make it, basically. So let me share my screen. And I apologize, my cat is on my desk, so you'll see him gonna jump around. Okay. All right. So hold on a second. So let's look at the today's job market right now. The traditional junior role is becoming a endangered species. It's not that companies hate beginners, it's just the groundwork we used to do is being like removed by the AI, unfortunately. So the old path where you start as a pixel pusher and slowly learn to think, slowly became a senior, is kind of broken. That's because execution is becoming a commodity, it's becoming cheap, it's becoming fast. But the thinking process, the judgment, and the decision-making process is actually become more expensive than ever because teams aren't really hiring for your ability to use Figma. They're hiring for how you think, how you decide, how you handle messy, contradictory, and complex problems. And that actually creates a very frustrating gap because you are expected to think like a senior, but you've been trained to execute like a junior. It's like being told to fly a plane when you've only ever practiced is folding paper airplanes. And most people think that the order is getting promoted, then act senior. In reality, it is actually think senior, get trusted, and then get promoted. So you have to act the part before you get a cast. So this isn't a talk about making your UI pop. This is a cheat sheet for the senior mindset. And the core shape is simple. We are moving from making screens to owning problems. And I've broken this down into several steps across the whole design process. So for each one, I'm going to give you the junior prep, what we usually do when we are just starting to when we're just starting in the industry, and the senior pivot, how to flip the script and take control. And then lastly, how we can use AI and use example prompts to help you stress test your logic and upgrade your language in seconds. And by the end of this, you won't just have a better portfolio or be able to tell better stories in your interviews. You also have to switch that mindset. And I will share the link to the presentation to you later so you can save it in your browser and you can use it as your reference. Okay. So now the questions becomes what actually makes someone feel senior? Because it's usually not years of experience or if you can make perfect UI or knowing every design framework. A lot of seniority is behavioral. It is how someone approaches ambiguity, communicates decisions, handle trade-offs, and think under pressure. So actually, do this qualities sound familiar to you? Because I'm sure you've heard some of them in your interviews. And funny enough, how you answer them actually determines how senior you are. Okay, so the first major shift is moving from drawing to directing. When you are just starting out, your instinct is to prove your value by doing. Let's say that a PM gives you a ask and you want to show them maybe 10 screens by tomorrow morning. But senior designers usually slow down before they speed up. Senior designers operate in a directing mode. They realize that their most valuable asset isn't their ability to push pixels. It is their ability to curate clarity. They spend more time clarifying the actual problem, the outcome, and also the constraints before touching the UI. So before designing everything, senior designers ask questions like, do I even know the real problem, not just the ask? Can I define success in one sentence? Have I identified key constraints? Did I question the original requests? Am I solving the right problem? And next time, when you get a request from your team, feel free to just use this checklist to really think through all those questions before opening your design tool. Now you may think, but how do I even know what questions I want to ask, or how do I know the answer to all the questions? And honestly, this is where AI becomes incredibly useful. You don't have to open up with every strategic question or answer by yourself anymore. That's why I prepare some senior level prompt on the right as example for you. They may not guarantee you a fast answer, but they are about compressing that kind of thinking process that used to take years of mentorship and experience. And right now we can just copy and paste and use AI to do the thinking labor to challenge assumptions, to expose that blind spots to us, and to force deeper thinking. So by the time you do start making prototypes, you are not just drawing, you're actually executing a valid direction. And then the next shift is moving from designing speak to business speak. One of the fastest way to feel more senior in meetings has nothing to do with your visuals. It has everything to do with your language. Junior designers usually describe the interface. This feels cleaner. This improves the experience. This is more intuitive. And yes, those things matters. But the problem is nobody else outside of design really talks like that. Because PMs are thinking about priorities, engineers are talking about complexity, and leadership is thinking about impact, growth, retention, revenue, and also support costs. So everybody is translating decisions into business outcomes. So when senior designers present work, they don't just explain what changed on the UI side. They also explain why it matters. So next time, instead of saying, I simplified a user flow, you can actually say, we reduced decision fatigue, which improved completion rates, something like that. So it is the same design, but you are using completely different perception. One sounds more like one sounds more like a UI opinion. The other sounds like a product decision. So this is why like ROI thinking and also OKR thinking actually matters. So inject those impactful language into your design language. And so using the checklist, senior designers constantly ask, did I connect this to a business or user outcome? Did I remove vague words like intuitive or clean? Can a non-designer understand this? Did I mention metrics or impact? Am I explaining why, not just what? And again, use the prompts. So next time you can use this to rewrite the design explanations so a stakeholder would care about it, or identify vague UX language in your writing and replace it with measurable outcomes. And moving from the language upgrade, we're gonna shift from fantasy to reality. Because in a world where developers are using AI coding agents to build and deploy at very fast speed, the luxury of spending weeks polishing a V3 vision before shipping V1 is officially over. At a senior level, you stop treating design as something that lives in Figma and start treating it as something that has to survive the implementation. Because the real constraint is never how good an idea looks, it's how expensive it is to build, to maintain, and to ship. That means using the checklist to ensure you've removed unnecessary complexity, that you are aware of engineering constraints, that you are prioritizing impact over polish, and to keep up with the modern engineering, also utilize the AI prompts to ask questions like what parts of the design are high effort but low impact, or identify engineering constraints I should consider for this UI to help you really strip your work down to its most effective and most shippable core. And the next behavior shift is from winning to aligning. So this is where seniority stops being about craft and becomes about control of momentum. Because in real product teams, the hardest problem is not about generating ideas, it's getting a group of smart people to commit to one direction without burning cycles in endless debate. So seniors don't really treat alignment like persuasion or winning argument. They treat it like removing friction from the system so decisions can actually move forward. So use your checklist to ensure you consider other perspectives, reduce friction in decision making, invite input, and clarify trade-offs and align on direction. So the goal is not to be right in the room, is to increase the team's speed of clarity. Because slightly imperfect decision that everybody understands and commits to will actually outperform a perfect idea that nobody aligns on. And when you are facing resistance, leverage those prompts to stimulate a PM, an engineer, and designer reviewing your idea to see their disagreements beforehand, or ask AI to rewrite your argument so it invites collaboration instead of resistance. Next, we're gonna have to shift from happy path to edge cases, where the goal is to think one step ahead of all the other team. So we're moving away from does this look good to where will this break? Because we all understand that real users don't behave in clean flows and systems don't operate under ideal conditions, and products rarely fail in obvious ways. That means we have to deliberately check whether edge cases are covered. So thinking through what happens at scale and asking what could go wrong when assumptions stop holding. It also means going beyond the happy path and anticipating how users might misuse or bend the system in ways it wasn't designed for, because that's usually what happens in the reality. And instead of discovering these issues after launch, seniors stimulate stress upfront. So utilize the checklist and prompt to ask what break first if usage spikes 10 times. List risks of or pressure test the design under extreme scenarios. And moving on, junior designers deliver a Figma file as their handoff, but senior designers deliver a source of truth. So at a senior level, your output is no longer just the design, it's the system of understanding that allows other people to execute without needing you in the room. Because if your work collapses the moment you step away, then you haven't really scaled anything. That means deliberately documenting not just what the interface looks like, but the decisions behind it. So engineers aren't forced into a guessing game of intent or trade-offs or edge cases. And then you can ask yourself, are decisions clearly documented, or am I relying on memory and conversation to fill the gaps? Can someone implement this without me jumping in every hour? Did I include reasoning, not just visuals, so the why survives beyond the file? And are constraints and edge cases called out so that there's no ambiguity in implementation? And most importantly, this is a single source of truth that team can actually trust when things get messy. And you can accelerate this by using the prompts to translate scattered notes into structured specs, organizing your decisions into clear rationales for engineers, and identifying missing implementations context, rewriting documents to a new teammate so that a new teammate can understand it without you, and also summarize trade-offs, constraints, and also key decisions into a clean handoff that reduce dependency and increase speed. And one thing I want to call is in a lot of companies, especially startup, they are actually moving away from Figma and they are starting to use their code base as their primary source of truth. And I highly recommend you to look up DesignMD, which is developed by Google Stitch. I haven't looked too close into it, so correct me if I'm wrong. But DesignMD is a structured document that describes behaviors, constraints, components, and interaction rules in a way that can be directly translated into implementation. So this is a little bit different from a design system because design system is a visual, but DesignMD is actually just a plain markdown document. So that doesn't make design less important. It actually fundamentally changes what design is. So documentation stops being a handoff step and becomes the actual definition of the product system itself. And your leverage comes from how clearly you can encode intent or reasoning or structure into something that survives beyond tools, beyond files, and can directly be inside of the system that ships. So feel free to look it up and see how we as designers can bridge the gap between design and code upfront. And then the final shift is moving from handoff to the closed loop. So at a senior level, shipping work is never the end of the process. It is the moment you finally get access to reality. Because until something is in the hands of users, everything you believed about is still a hypothesis. And your goal is to turn every project into learning. So use the checklist to ensure you know how success is measured before you ship and that you are actively tracking outcomes and gathering feedback once the feature is live. And every shipped project becomes a closed loop of learning. So ask questions about what did we expect, what actually happened, and what should change next time. So seniors don't just iterate on products, they iterate on their own judgment. And feel free to use the AI prompts to define success metrics upfront and to know what signals tell you that design is working or failing, or like questions you should ask users after the feature ships. So that wraps up the several key behaviors that defines a senior designer in the design process. And we've covered steps from directing the initial problem to creating a closed loop learning environment after launch. And then the common thread here is moving away from being a pixel pusher and toward being a strategic partner who owns the outcome. So if you start applying those behaviors today and use a checklist to keep you honest and use the AI prompts to stress test your logic, you'll find that the title senior usually catches up to you much faster than you expected. But beyond the specific behaviors we do, there is also a fundamental shift in how we think. So for the next part, we're gonna dive into the internal mental models that separate juniors from seniors. And I put together a set of interactive cards here. So on the front, you'll see junior. And when you flip it, you'll see like what the same situation looks like through a senior lens. And I don't want you to walk away from this feeling like, oh my God, I need to master all of this by Monday morning. That's not how it works. That's how burnout starts, not growth. So think of this less like a checklist and more like a compass you occasionally glance at. So let's flip a few together. I really like this one. So avoiding conflict. Senior mindset is I don't want to push back on the PM. And if you're anything like me who hates conflict, and honestly, I still struggle with this, it feels safe to just say okay, but it often leads to silent misalignment. So now if we flip it, the senior mindset is healthy tension leads to better decisions. I'll speak up. So if you see a flaw in the logic and don't surface it, you are not actually keeping peace. You are quietly increasing risk for the whole team. And being senior here means realizing your voice isn't disruption. It's menace for the product's health. Now, the reason why I think this mindset is really important because we hear a ton of interview questions centered around this topic. I'm sure you've heard of tell me about time you had a conflict with a stakeholder, or how do you handle pushback from a engineer, or how do you handle disagreement with PM in interviews. So the interviewers aren't looking for a story where you won an argument or where you simply gave in to be nice. They want to say that you have the backbone to advocate for user and also the product, and that you have the communication skills to turn a conflict into a shared alignment session. So the next time you face this question, use this mindset and don't just talk about the compromises you made. Talk about the rationale and explain that you are a partner who isn't afraid to have the hard conversations necessary to protect the final outcome. And when you start navigating tension instead of running away from it, people stop seeing you as someone who just designs and start seeing you as a leader who ships the product. And another good one is moving from reactive to proactive. So the junior mindset is I will wait to see what feedback comes in. This is a reactive stance. So you ship the work, you sit back, and you wait for the PM, all the users, or the engineers to tell you what's wrong with it. And now let's flip it. So the senior mindset is I will anticipate the objections and address them upfront. So senior designers are effectively 3 steps ahead of the room. And instead of waiting for a stakeholder to poke a hole in your design, a senior has already identified that hole, thought of several different ways to fix it, and is ready to explain why they choose the current path before the question is even asked. So this mindset is one of the biggest indicator of seniority, and you will see it written all over the job descriptions. So when you see phrases like product ownership or something like thriving ambiguity or self-managed, self-starter, or drive cross-functional alignment, so you will know that those phrases are asking for this proactive mindset. So don't just be the person who fixes a bug after it's reported. Actually be the person who notices a pattern of user errors in the data or realize it's going to impact the company's goals or proactively initiates a design sprint to solve it before anybody else see the flaws. And again, you don't need to absorb all of this at once. Treat it like a mirror to keep in the back of your mind, something that you'll revisit over time. And the good news is if you are already making some changes in one of those behavioral shifts we're talking about, you are probably like 70% there without even realizing it. And so after all of those behavioral and mindset shifts, you're probably sitting there think, okay, cool. So I need to think strategically, speak in business language, manage trade-offs, anticipate risks, align stakeholders, and understand engineering, and the list go on. And honestly, I know I've been throwing a lot at you, so these are really dense topics. And traditionally, developing those skills can take years of mentorship and also dozens of projects, hundreds of meetings, and also occasionally say something so wrong, but you say it so confidently that keeps you awake at 2 a.m. But now we have the ability to externalize and practice those thinking patterns through AI. So what if you had a mentor available 24/7 to help you make those pivots? So this last section is for the people who want to take it a little bit further, not just using AI for random prompts, but building your own persistent AI mentors that challenge your thinking consistently. So the next part is more like a demo. I'm going to be using Gemini and also Cloud to walk you through how do you build your own AI mentors and how do you prompt them to make sure that they remember your context, your blind spots, and know how you think. And why Gemini and why Cloud, you may ask, because it's free. You can use ChatGPT for the same purpose. It's just I didn't pay for GPT, but if you have student account or if you're already paying for it, so go ahead and use ChatGPT. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm gonna use this scenario where I'm gonna create a communication mentor to help me to sound more confident and more impactful in my meetings. So first step is to open your Gemini and you can just tell Gemini what you want to do. So I'm gonna say, I am a product designer, early career, wanting to sound more professional and senior in my meetings. And then tell it to make it a gem. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask it to write it as a prompt. Okay, so we can just copy and paste this into, so let's just first copy this. Okay, and then the next step is you can open another browser, but you can find gems here. Click on it. And by the way, I noticed that this is literally just released this morning or maybe last night. So I don't really know what they're about. But we're gonna use this section here. And you may already notice that I already have some of my gems, but maybe yours is empty. So we can just click here, create your new gem. And let's just simply call it mentor, AI mentor maybe. And you can leave the description empty because this part doesn't really goes into the prompt. And the next, you can just copy and paste those prompts that we saw last step. And if you want to take it a little bit further, you can click here to ask it to rewrite your instructions. Okay, it's taking a few minutes. Okay, cool. So now we see a little bit of improvement. It gives the mentor a role, purpose and goals, rules, behaviors, constraints, overall tone. So this looks great. And now let's just click save. Okay. So now this is your AI mentor and you don't have to repeat yourself every time, right? You don't have to repeat, okay, I'm a early career designer, and I want you to give me advice. You can just say your question here. And as you use this more, it's gonna remember how you think and how you prompt. It's gonna have more context about you. So it's gonna give you a better response than just a regular new chat here. So another way you can do this is I have examples that you can use. So we have like a senior PM mentor, which is gonna help you to think more like a product partner instead of just designer. And it's gonna challenge your product thinking. It's gonna challenge your prioritization, your business language, your trade-off decisions, and your outcome-driven design. So you can just copy the prompt here, and you can make your own gem or use Claude to do that and ask it questions like, is this feature actually valuable? Or what should we prioritize first? Or how should a PM challenge this idea? Or what business outcome does this support? And besides like PM mentor, we also have engineer mentor that's gonna train you to stop designing idealized concepts and start designing things that can realistically ship. So again, use the prompt, copy the prompt, and ask questions, or just manually type the questions that you are most concerned about. We also have stuff design mentor that's gonna focus more on the design side of things and really help you to focus on the clarity of your UI or your design thinking process or your system level design or long-term quality. And we also have a career coach mentor. This is gonna focus on the soft skills that often separate junior designers from senior ones. And I don't know about the design education right now, but when I was at school, I feel like it was really focused on the hard skills, like how do you use Figma, how do you do research, how do you run usability testings, and all of those are great, but we are missing some of the soft skills, things like how do I communicate this idea so that my business stakeholders can understand and can think that is as important as other perspectives? Or how do I handle conflict or ambiguity? How to ask the right questions even though I don't know what to ask? Something like that. So I'm gonna use Cloud as an example. And if you want to just copy the prompt here, you can do that. And open your Cloud and just click on the projects. This is similar to Gem in Gemini. And what we're gonna do is create a new project, and you can call it career coach, mentor. Okay, there we go. Create a project, and then we're gonna use the instructions. Click that and paste all of those prompts here. And then the next thing is just to literally talk to it. But we're gonna test if we did our instructions correctly. So I'm gonna ask, who are you and what can you do for me? Okay, the good news is it knows that it's our career mentor. And it gives us some example prompts that we can use. And from here, you can ask it about your long-term career goal. If you are in school and if you wanna be a really good designer in Fortune 500 companies, you can ask it, how do you do that? If you are switching careers, you can ask it, how do I transit from maybe industrial designers to UX designers, things like that. Yeah, so that's everything I have to share with you today. I hope this has given you a clearer roadmap about how to be a senior designer before you are actually one. So I will be dropping the link of this presentation in the chat so you can start using it immediately. And before we open the floor to the questions, I want to leave you with a quick summary of how you can best utilize this. So if you are still in school and if you are looking for your first role, don't wait for the senior title to act like one. So start applying what you heard today to your school projects and case studies right now. And if you are preparing your portfolio or preparing your interview, it's time to reframe your storytelling. Because you didn't just design an onboarding flow, for example, you also designed a product strategy. You also improved the retention metrics, and you also aligned a cross-functional teams. So all of those are real, and I'm sure when you actually did the work, you put a lot of effort in it. But when you are doing your portfolio or when you were interviewing, you may be leaning too much on the design of the other soft skills that made that happen. So use prompts, use the checklist to reframe how you tell. And if you already have you have your own rhythms and expertise, so please just take whatever resonates with you, whether it's just the specific prompt or just one of the shifts we discussed. So feel free to keep them in the back of your mind and use them whenever you see fit in your own day-to-day work. So yeah, that's all. I have my LinkedIn here, so just you can click on it and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect with all of you and answer questions over there. So yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing and Q&A time. Okay, actually,
Thank
let
you
me
so
just copy
much.
my, yeah, let me just copy my
Um,
link.
are there any questions? I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anyone has, I think there is a question now. Um, Lily is asking, what would you say the main difference between a junior designer's portfolio versus a senior designer's portfolio?
Well, I think you've all heard of this in some ways. Junior designers may show you the prototypes, the final outcome, but senior designers will actually walk you through how they made that final prototypes. And this can come like in various ways. Like you have to really tell the recruiters or hiring managers about your design thinking process. You have to tell them like how you make trade-offs. If the first option doesn't really work out, how do you come up with the second one? And if your stakeholders doesn't like your design, how do you protect it or and to tell the stakeholders, okay, this is actually gonna help users because I did some research, because engineers said something, because PM said something. So share those collaboration and also the messy part of your design is really gonna help you to catch some eyes from the recruiters because at the end, in companies, there are a lot of constraints on the design side, right? They have like different design system. Maybe some companies are B2B and they don't really care about design that much. So about what all of them care about is how you think, how they can tell that they are gonna work with you. And all of that is gonna be coming from your portfolio. Um, yeah, so really tell your design thinking process, how you make the judgment, how you handle trade-offs, how you handle negative feedback, how you present your ideas, maybe in like meetings or Slack messages, and how do you collaborate with PMs or engineers or stakeholders. Okay, yeah. Okay, next question. Are you able to share more on your personal journey and how you made learn these moves? Maybe share an extra story. If not, okay. Okay, I kind of skipped my self-intro part to just save some time, but I started out as a designer in learn like pursuing a design degree in undergrad and also in grad school, probably similar to most of you. And my first design job was actually a freelance designer role. And in that role, I had some fun time, but actually I wasn't being very proactive. I kind of learned from my mistakes. So I was that kind of designer where I just share my final prototypes at the end of the week and ask my PM to review it. And I never shared any progress or how I think during that 1 week. So that can lead to like the PM didn't know like where I was during that whole week and had to like really just guess what I was doing. So my personal journey is just to learn from all the mistakes that I made personally. And that's how I kind of use myself as the don't do this example and distilled those things that you actually should do into the presentation today. And I also use AI a lot. I ask it to give me some ideas on what sets juniors and seniors. I think it really gave me a lot of inspiration. So using my own personal journey as context to feed the AI, and then it gave me like good examples. Okay, yeah. And next question, you mentioned storytelling multiple times. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Yeah, honestly, I don't think I am the perfect person to talk about this. Like AI is the best person to talk about this. So let's say that if you want to put something, if you want to say something during interview, so you can just basically describe what you did, right? You're gonna say like, I did this, I designed this, I made changes to this and that. I'm gonna tell AI all of that, and you're gonna prompt AI to be a storyteller. And you're gonna tell AI to act as a recruiter viewing this and to ask AI to do that for you, right? So you don't have to really think that too much. You just have to know how to tell your AI to think for you. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna go to, okay, actually, I'm gonna go take the hand first. Yeah, sorry, I don't know how to say your name, but Ulrich, do you have a question? No, okay. Okay, so let's go to the next question in chat. And or if you have your question, please feel free to drop in the chat. So curious how you would suggest someone frame their experience as a senior or junior on paper. In my example, I come from years of a graphic design career and pivoted to UX and had a junior role for 1.5 years before the team was laid off. I still technically feel like a junior in UX. Yeah, that's a very good question. I think the first thing you have to change is not how you frame yourself on paper, is how you think internally about yourself. So if you're thinking, yes, I am still junior, that's valid, but we have to like fake it till you make it. We have to manifest. We have to think I'm a senior before I'm actually a senior. So that's really where those behavioral shifts and mindset shifts come from. So yeah, you can just use one of those prompts listed or create your own AI mentor and ask it there. I think it's gonna give better answers than I ever do to you. Yeah, so how would you suggest to show up on socials and also as a freelancer, perhaps positioning ourselves as senior? So fun fact, for the freelancer job, I found it on Indeed. I wasn't positioning myself as a freelancer. I was just positioning myself as a job seeker. So I actually never went down to that way. But I think nowadays, like Twitter or X is a good place to start and also make your own videos on like Instagram and also on like TikTok or YouTube and share your prototypes or even your web design projects. Share your process. Have a good like stories around it, like why you want to start on this project, things like that. And even though like at first it's gonna get hard, I guess it's not gonna be like you post a video or you post a post and got like thousands of views. You probably only get one or two. But keep doing that because it's not about how other people hear what you say. It's about how you are telling the word, the world, right? It's about how you are expressing yourself. So don't, if you are starting out wanting to advertise yourself as a freelancer, don't care too much about the views or how many people reach out. Just use it as your one of the project that you can share later, or maybe put on your portfolio to show that okay, I am proactive. I want to really utilize my skills, and this is how I'm doing it. Um, yeah, I don't know if that helps. But yeah, Orange, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Are you guys all getting me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing great. So, my name is Ulrich, product designer from Cameroon, West Africa. And here's my question. How can a designer from Africa position himself in order to attract international opportunities still within product design? Because I guess design in the West and design in Africa is might be different, and how can I, for instance, mm, maybe get hired at some of these huge tech companies? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm not sure if I have the expertise to answer about that. But from what I'm thinking is you just apply for the companies that's based in like maybe the US, for example. Um, and also maybe also advertise yourself as a freelancer, but make sure that the portfolio you have is catered to the US products, for example. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that design language from like Africa and US is very different. So, um, for example, like the design language in China and US is different. Like China is more about like we put everything in there, but US is like we simplify the flow. So if I am in China and want to have a role in the US, I have to move away from how China do the design, right? I have to be thinking about the US market, the US users, stakeholders, how US economy works, and how US think about design process. And just do your own research and look for like the designers that you look up to in the country that you want to work for, and learn from their portfolios or resumes. Um, and then gradually change your portfolio so you can attract and showing, okay, I already understand your target audience and I can be a good fit for your company. Does that help?
All right. Thank you very much.
I have something to add. I dropped a link at the bottom of the chat, Andela. So this started out training engineers from Nigeria and connecting them with corporate jobs all over the world, but primarily in the US to start. So you can check that out if you scroll down to the bottom of their website. What's cool about this is that the founder of this company was already previously successful. And this was his Give Back Our Passion project. So, and this is an older one, so I'm certain they have newer ones, so you can check the newer ones out as well. But this one's been around for a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly.
All right. Thank you very much, Kelly.
Okay. I think we have
Okay.
time for like maybe one or two more questions. So I think in the chat I see someone has asked, how do you keep up with the AI and design space outside of work?
I think there's always this joke about if you don't care too much about AI and stop learning it, you're gonna know that you don't have to learn anything. So it's like it's like if I wait long enough that I don't need to learn how to drive anymore. So the maybe Tesla is gonna take away from me. So I think right now, like I am kind of trying to stay away from keeping up with the AI news too much because I know it's gonna I'm never gonna catch up to it and it's gonna feed me like anxiety or burnout. So my suggestion is just to like be chill, and take a step back. If you want to learn, go ahead and continue to do that. If you after work you just want to like watch a good episode and protect your mental health and just do that. And I think AI is gonna lower the bar to so many people. Like before, I was questioning if I should learn 3D modeling to use like things like Unity, for example. But right now, like I believe AI can do so much better 3D modeling than I ever will. So just trust AI is gonna lower the bar, and it's gonna turn into like you can just talk to it and get a really high quality uh, artifact back. So I think what we need to learn is not how to catch up with AI, is about how to express ourselves, to explain ourselves good, to learn how to write prompts. And so that's never gonna change. So yeah, learn how to write prompts. And I believe the first session in this hackathon is about how to be a prompt engineer. Yeah, so highly recommend. Okay, do I have time for another question?
Yeah, I think we have time for one more.
Okay, which one do we want to go to? I
Um,
saw a one about from Visa. Do you want to go to that one?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Nowadays, looking for a new job is very competitive, as everyone using AI tool to generate the resume CV. Do you have any tips on how to make sure your resume stand out to recruiter attention? Ooh, that's a good one. Um, so I think for resume, it is a little bit different than a like CV. Like CV is longer. For CV, it's easier because you can really put something like personal. You can tell a personal story that's gonna make sure you don't sound like AI. So CV is easier. By resume, what I recommend is don't do like massive apply. What I would recommend is go to that one company you really want to work for, or go to that one job description that you think you are a good fit, and just make sure that your resume has like 80% of the keywords on their job description. That's gonna take a lot of time to do that, but it's also gonna make sure that they know you just didn't use AI to create your resume, that you actually put effort to look the job description. Yeah, so stop massive applying and then start to really niche your focus. That's gonna be, I think, the first method that I would think of. But I'm sure there's other methods as well. Okay.
Awesome. Thank
So
you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time out to speak with our participants today. It was really great hearing about your insights. And we're really appreciative of you taking the time out to speak with us today. Um, my Ishan has a few final reminders for everyone on the call, so I'm gonna hand it over to him for a little bit, but yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, so before we wrap up today, we have a couple final reminders. The first one is that the session is being recorded and it'll be shared with you all via email. In addition to that, we encourage you to share feedback with us via email. So that can be like any complaints, any questions, any feedback that you may have. It's all very welcome and accepted. And then finally, if you enjoyed the session, we highly encourage you to share your experiences with us on LinkedIn and Instagram. Feel free to tag us at Dubstech along with our partner design buddies and the speaker today. So yeah, thank you so much, Haopeng, here for being here with us today. We really appreciate all the insights you provided and just taking the time out of your day to be here. And to everybody else, we hope you had a very beneficial experience and learned a lot from it. This was the last talk of the day.